Hi there and welcome to our induction videos for Georges River Life Church and Georges River Life Care. My name is Sophie Brody and I'm the Children's and Families Pastor here. And let me say on behalf of all the staff just how excited we are that you are keen to serve and be a part of the ministry we do here. By serving with us, you are going to be such a blessing to so many, but we also know it's going to help you grow in your discipleship. This video is the first of 2 general induction videos that are for everyone who is serving at our church and life care. And it also includes an online quiz for you to fill out after these videos that let us know that you understand the information and have completed this induction. These videos will run alongside a conversation you will have with your ministry leader, where they will give you any information that is related to your particular role or ministry. For example, the guidelines of how to run a small group with youth kids or how to appropriately turn on the sound gear. That won't be addressed in these videos, but will in your ministry teams. So if some of your questions aren't answered in these videos, it's likely because your ministry leader will go through it with you. But it wouldn't hurt to pop down any questions down that you have as you go through these videos, just to make sure. We will be looking at what Safe Church is, why it's so important, our Safe Church policy and its supporting documents, some important things to consider for work health safety, who to go to if you have a complaint, feedback or ongoing conflict, and also an overview of the new process to serve in 2021, in particular going through our code of conduct. So let's start.
Hi, my name is Scott Morrison and I'm the Senior Pastor here at Georges River Life Church. You know, federal and state authorities increasingly require organisations like ours that work with vulnerable people to provide, as much as possible, a safe environment in every respect. And tragically, churches have been the source of too many examples of unsafe, abusive environments and practices that have had lifelong consequences for victims and their families. As churches, we cannot change the past, nor can we guarantee it ever being repeated, but what we can do is diligently and positively commit ourselves to the requirements and best practices that are being established by our authorities in order to make our church as safe as possible. Now, while it'd be very easy to see this and these requirements as another thing to add to our to-do lists or just another kind of compliance ticker box, I hope that you will see that this is so much more than that. Like, we're doing this because we actually want all adults and all children who walk into the Life Centre or who participate in our programs to know that their well-being and safety is of paramount importance to us, and that they are worth being loved and cared for and protected. This is not just a ticker box. It's about the gospel in practice. And hopefully, it will be a powerful witness to our community that will restore some level of confidence in wider Australia that a church is a place that you can trust with the care of your children or your vulnerable adults. Now, if you've already been serving at GRLC, maybe for years, I understand that this might feel strange or an unnecessary formality, but it's important that we start with all our volunteers, new or existing, adhering to this new framework so that they're supported in their role and our church is a safe place for all. If implementing safe church policies and practices makes GRLC safer, and if it makes our witness stronger, then, well, let's all invest ourselves into that outcome. Thanks so much for partnering with us in this. Enjoy the presentation. See ya.
So what is Safe Church? Safe Church refers to the Safe Churches framework that has been created by the Baptist Association alongside other church denominations in response to the 10 child safe standards that are in the process of being made law in New South Wales. The child safe standards are from the Office of the Children's Guardian and are the main result from the government's Royal Commission into the institutional responses to child sexual abuse in 2013. So with support from the Baptist Association, GRLC have adopted a safe church policy. And this outlines this framework and how it will impact the way we will function as a church and as a community service. So let's quickly go through that safe church policy now together. Our Safe Church policy outlines our commitment as a church to provide places, services and programs that promote physical, emotional and spiritual health and safety, and to model the love of Christ to all who we come in contact with, particularly children, young people and vulnerable adults. So as you can see, this is not just about children or response to child abuse, but it is about everyone and making sure our place is a safe place for everyone. Our Safe Church policy can be found on our website under the About tab and then the Policies and Guidelines. We ask that you read through that Safe Church policy yourself, as it is the overarching document that points to all the other procedures and documents you can see on that webpage too. Our Safe Church policy is for everyone who attends our church and its programs, and is most importantly for our leadership and our staff and volunteers of those programs. In order to adopt the child safe standards presented by the government, we must commit to the following things, which are outlined in this safe policy. 1, to provide spaces, programs and relationships that are safe for our young people. This particularly affects how we run our child-related ministries like River Kids, Youth and Arts Life, but is also about our whole church, as we seek to create a culture that ensures that young people in our community have a voice and have input. Number 2, we commit to have a thorough process to screen, induct, resource and train our staff and volunteers. This is part of what this induction video series is about now, and we will talk in more depth about this process in video 2. Number 3 is that we commit to have a clear process of dealing with conflict, complaints, incidences and concerns. Number 4, we commit to having safe physical and online environments. Number 5, we commit to undergoing appropriate risk management, and that's what this next part of the video is about. Number 6, we commit that our third parties and affiliated identities like Lifecare also comply with this framework. Number 7, we commit to being diligent with our record keeping. We actually have to keep our records for about 45 years. We commit to keeping them in the best practice in a safe and secure manner. Number 8, we commit to being accountable to the Baptist Association, as well as reporting anything that we need to legally. So, you've heard me mention it already, creating safe environments. So let's go to our work health, safety and risk management section. Work health safety is ultimately about creating safe environments. Here is what you need to know about the area of work health safety. A is for all staff and volunteers. All staff and volunteers are responsible for ensuring the health and safety of people on site at GRLC. It's everyone's responsibility. So what does that mean for you? R is reporting hazards and incidences to eliminate risk. A hazard is something that has the potential to harm us, our church, our building. Hazards can be chemicals, they can be scissor lifts, they can be a cord on the ground, or can be even inappropriate behaviour. An incident is when an unattended event has happened that has caused injury or exposes a person to a serious risk. So this includes near misses. And a risk is the chance of something happening that will have a negative effect. People being injured, financial loss, or the reputation of our organisation are all examples of this. So as staff and volunteers at GRLC, we are wanting to remove and reduce the risk of hazards as much as possible so we have as little incidents as possible. So if you see something that is not safe, it is important that you do something about it. Either remove the hazard, if it is safe to do so, say like a chair in the doorway, or you can speak to your ministry leader. If a hazard exists that can't be dealt with immediately, or an incident occurs while you're serving, you will be required to fill out an incident report with your ministry leader. If you are in the Life Centre, these are found under the first aid kits that are located in every kitchen, and they look something like this. If you are anywhere else, your ministry leader will have these on their person. Once you've done that together, your ministry leader will pass it on to the work health safety team. E. Now there's two for this one: emergency evacuation and equipment. So firstly, it's important that you know what to do in the case of an emergency evacuation because of something like a fire. At the Life Centre, we have an alarm that will be sounded if there is a fire or a threat. If you hear that alarm, it is important to stop what you're doing, sit down where you are and wait for instruction. A pastor or fire marshal, likely wearing a yellow vest, will come round to group people. If the alarm changes sound, it means we need to evacuate by the nearest fire escape, marked by the green signs. To make our way to the emergency assembly place, which is outside the sugar factory, against the gate and down the driveway. This is marked with a green sign also. It is important we don't waste time by collecting our possessions or any objects. We need to do our best to stay calm and leave the building in an orderly way. In the case of obstruction in going to our emergency area, follow the instruction of one of our pastors to take you to another safe meeting place. If you are in any other building while you are serving, your ministry leader will brief you of the emergency exits on that day. So the second E is equipment. There are lots of different equipment located in our church or some of the buildings we use for ministry. It is vitally important that you do not use equipment you have not been shown how to use. If you know how to use a piece of machinery or technical equipment from work or home, you still need to ask your ministry leader before using it at church. It's also really important that you return the equipment back to its correct place. At the Life Centre, we also have safety equipment that you need to be aware of, such as a defibrillator located in the foyer and fire extinguishers, which are located throughout all the building. It is important in the case of emergency where you need to use this equipment that you read the instructions on each signage. At the Life Centre, our first aid kits are located in all the kitchens and are marked for you. If it is safe to do so, please ask your ministry leader before using them. If you are outside or in another building, your ministry leader will let you know where the travel first aid kit is. A is for assessment of risk. Ministry leaders complete and make a record of risk assessments on our risk register in relation to any program or event that is happening. This risk assessment is about reducing or removing the likelihood of risks and the consequence of those risks. And in order to do that, certain strategies or control measures are put into place. For example, the car park can be a place of risk as people could be hit by a car. While the likelihood of that is pretty low, the consequence of that happening is high. To reduce that risk, one of our control measures, one of our strategies is to have car park attendants in brightly coloured vests to help guide people where to drive and walk. So, while it is your ministry leader's role to create those risk assessments for your ministry, it's really important that you know what risks there are and what control measures are being put into place to stop that, as you are likely to be involved in implementing them. So that is some of the important things to know in the area of work health and safety. Here's just a couple of other things you need to know. If your role involves food handling, we have a policy for that found on that same page I showed you before, and you will be required to sign a food handling agreement. It's vitally important we also keep our fire exits clear in any room or building we are using. They need to have a 1 metre clearance at all times. Messy rooms or dirty areas are also a hazard, so let's do our best to keep our spaces as clean as possible. Now remember, your ministry leader will go through any extra procedures based on your ministry's risk assessment. So that was the what and why for our Safe Church framework and information on our work health safety practices. So now let's look at our Safe Church document suite. As mentioned earlier, you can find our Safe Church document suite on our website through our homepage, the About tab, and then the policies and guidelines. These are supporting documents and policies that make adopting our Safe Church framework possible, which is all about creating safe environments for everyone. Physical environments, but also emotional and spiritual, which has got to do with relationships. So we want to now focus in on our procedures for dealing with relational conflict, complaints, and child protection concerns, as it is really important that you know who to go to in your context if these occur. Conflict will happen. Sometimes it's big, sometimes it's small, and it's not always a bad thing, but there are ways to deal with it that is best practice. We want anyone at Georges River Life Church and Georges River Life Care to feel they can raise an issue if they have one. If you or someone has shared with you that you have some conflict that falls in the category of a disagreement, an offence, or perception of bullying, then we encourage you, when suitable, to speak to that person directly. You can seek counsel before you do that, or go with someone to support you. However, if you don't feel comfortable to do that, or you have tried and it was unsuccessful, please talk to your ministry leader or small group leader to assist you in resolving that conflict, which could involve including others if required. If the issue is a little more serious and involves a person who is a volunteer or staff member who has breached their code of conduct, therefore it's in relation to do with their character, their lifestyle, or the way they fulfill their ministry role, then you can chat to your ministry leader also, or chat to someone in our staff leadership team, or SLT. Our SLT in 2021 is Scott Morrison, Ben Rusin, Glenn Power, Lara Watson, Catherine Montoya, and me, Sophie Brody. We are available for you, and you can contact us whenever you like. Our details are on the website if you don't already have them. If for any reason you do not feel comfortable to speak to one of our staff or SLT, or perhaps the complaint is about one of them, we have our grievance team, Lisa and Kieran Shanahan. Lisa and Kieran are not on staff. They are a part of our GRLC congregation and devoted church partners. Our grievance team has been put into place to ensure that if you have an issue, you always have someone safe to assist you. We also have our church leadership team, or our CLT, who act as our governing board and are made up of 5 to 10 GRLC partners each year. They are accountable to the church in overseeing the overall conduct of the church, strategic direction. They ensure the church complies with law, regulations, and our set policy. They ensure that our church resources are stewarded well, and they oversee and support our senior pastor, Scott, as he oversees the rest of the team. As of Jan 2021, they are Braden Wheeler, Peter Fazio, Sarah Gray, Adna Sequira, David Cito, Winnie Chow, and Scott Morrison. They are available for you to also speak to in regards to a complaint or any questions you might have about the church and its ministry. Our Safe Church team, who are overseeing this process, is currently made up of staff and some CLT members, but we are seeking to continue to grow this team in the near future. And finally, if you have a complaint or information that is about a child protection matter, please see me, Sophie Brodie. This is not just for those in child-related ministries, as children and young people are an active part of all we do. It's important if you hear anything about harm that has happened to a child, even if it was a long time ago, or you have information that concerns you that shows a child might be at risk of significant harm, please come forward. Even if you're not sure, come forward and we can chat about it. If your complaint is about the actions of a volunteer or staff member towards a child or young person, then please also speak to me, Sophie, or another SLT member. Again, if you're not comfortable to come to an SLT member or the complaint is about them, please chat to our grievance team or CLT. So, in case you missed it, here is a bit of a summary. If there is conflict between staff, volunteers or church members, speak to that person directly or tell your leader. If that complaint is about a serious breach of a volunteer or staff's code of conduct, please speak to your ministry leader or SLT member. If the complaint is related to a child abuse and protection matter, please speak to Sophie or an SLT member. If you do not feel comfortable talking to staff, SLT, or the complaint is about them, please speak to our grievance team or CLT. All the contact details that you need are on the website. This process of dealing with conflict and complaints is outlined in more detail in our Guide to Complaint Management, where we have included a handy guide to help you know the process and who to speak to if you need to refer back to it later. So thanks for watching this first induction video. Please now head over to our second and final video, which is titled Process to Serve and Code of Conduct. Now there are 2 versions to this second video, so it's important you watch the right one. If you are volunteering in a leadership or oversight role, or a discipleship role such as a small group leader, River Kids leader, or youth leader, then you need to view the video 2A, which is at leader level. If you are volunteering for any other role, you need to view video 2B, which is at serve level. Thanks.